Hi, I'm Jeff from New York. Please like and subscribe.
Young Billionaire, Episode 93, Bottle of Water. On stage, Lelaine continued to sing as well as she could, but she was struggling because of the severe pain in her stomach. Suddenly the audience noticed that the singing dramatically improved as another person's voice overshadowed Lelaine's.
If I can get through, I know I can find trying to get away from the blue sky. Fly to the blue sky. Fly toward the blue sky.
Voice was loud, melodious and full of passion. Elsa had danced over at her singing and Lelaine glanced at her gratefully. She was enduring a great deal of pain and was happy to step back and let her take over. Lelaine was sure that she was only trying to help her. Elsa had a good singing voice, but it sounded even better in contrast to Lelaine's, which had become so weak. The audience and the judges' eyes lit up with relief, while Jerry softly said, "Ah," with a trace of admiration in his eyes when they had finished the song. The 5 girls gave a bow on stage. Finally, the 5 long minutes were over. The moment the music stopped, Lelaine's legs gave way, and she fell onto the ground. This caused another commotion in the audience. Sophia quickly helped her up, but Elsa, who was standing beside her, only smiled coldly. Watching Lelaine's weak appearance from backstage, Christine covered her mouth and started crying. If she had known earlier how sick she was, she would never have let her perform, even if that meant forfeiting the competition. She could only hope that she would be okay. The judges were very concerned about Lelaine and told her to go backstage and rest. One of them said to Christine,
"Is your singer ill? Hurry up and take her backstage to lie down. As for your score, I'm sorry, but thank you for taking part."
The other 3 judges agreed.
Indeed, go back and rest. Your health is more important than the competition.
One said. Sophia was very disappointed. If Lelaine had been well, she was sure that they would have done well in the contest. However, now was not the time to worry about the results. She only wanted to make sure that Lelaine received treatment as quickly as possible. The 5 girls bowed and were about to step down from the stage when Christine rushed up to support Lelaine. Then Jerry spoke up so loudly that everyone stopped what they were doing and turned to stare at him.
"Hold on a minute."
Jerry was very angry. He didn't care how sick Lelaine was. He felt that singing Bluebirds so badly was an insult. What made him even angrier was that with so many children around, he couldn't even curse loudly. He muttered to himself,
"How dare this girl ruin Bluebird for me?" "So how do you think you did? I'm guessing you already know."
Jerry said as his gaze shifted between Lelaine and the others and finally landed on Elsa. He pointed at her and said,
"This girl's singing quite well. At least her voice was quite pleasing to the ear because of her. I'll let you pass to the next round."
Because Jerry was a sponsor, his words meant everything. Elsa gasped in surprise. She immediately grinned and thanked Jerry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adler. I promise that I'll continue to work hard.
"That's enough. You're getting in the way. Now get down from the stage."
Jerry waved his hand, and the girls walked off the stage. Christine stopped Debbie. She said,
"Lelaine, wait a minute."
and quickly dialed 911, telling them that an ambulance was needed urgently to take someone to the hospital. Christine held the weakened Lelaine in her arms and comforted her softly.
"Don't be afraid. The ambulance will be here soon."
She said. Sophia also stood beside her, holding her hand and looking at her with concern.
"Sophia, I'm in so much pain."
Lelaine told her friend. Her clothes were soaked with blood now. Her eyes were closed tightly and her hands were clenched. She thought she might pass out. Grace was angry with Lelaine and huffed at her.
"You have nerve complaining about being in pain. Because of you, we were almost eliminated."
Victoria agreed.
"That's right. You said that you didn't have a stomachache yesterday, and you said the same last night. Then it's such a crucial moment. You decide that you do have a stomachache after all. I think you did it on purpose."
She crossed her arms and looked at Lelaine coldly. Hearing her friends criticizing Lelaine, Elsa giggled to herself. At that moment, Sophia, who usually managed to stay calm, felt that she had to stick up for Lelaine. She asked Grace.
"You think she wanted this to happen?"
Grace replied,
"Did we say something wrong? If it wasn't for Elsa saving us in the end, we would have been eliminated. She almost ruined it for all of us. Can you blame us for being mad with her?"
Christine interrupted the argument with a frown. She said,
All right, Grace, Elsa, like I said before, you all have to stick together and look after each other. If one of you succeeds, you all do. Have you forgotten what I said?
Ms. Diaz, please don't be angry. We're just a bit upset. It's not surprising, but I promise we'll all calm down now.
Elsa said as she walked over and persuaded Grace and Victoria to sit down. She wanted Christine to see her smoothing things out so that she would have a good impression of her. Lelaine spoke up with great difficulty.
Miss Diaz, it's my fault. I'm the one who did wrong. Don't blame them. It's me. I was wrong.
Hot tears once again flowed down her cheeks. She looked pitiful. Christine hugged Lelaine and tried to comfort her. She said,
No, it's not your fault. Don't say that and don't worry about anything.
The talent show was still going on. Spike, who was lying beside Kara, stuck out his tongue and started panting. Kara knew that this meant he was thirsty.
Spiky, are you thirsty?
She said as she touched the dog's big head. So then she didn't want to miss the show. She needed to find someone else to take her dog out to get a drink. Because of Spike's earlier growling, the rest of the audience was keeping their distance. They believed that the dog was aggressive and wasn't going to get anywhere near it. Kara pointed at a young man and instructed,
You come here.
Me.
The man that Kara was pointing to was Mason Cook. He looked at his friends, but everyone else pretended to be watching the show. He secretly cursed his bad luck and walked toward Kara with a frown.
Spike, you're not allowed to bark,
said Kara to the dog when Mason walked over to them. She pointed at him while looking at the dog and said,
Spike, this young man is going to take you for a drink. Be good and don't bite him.
Mason was scared and embarrassed. He had become a dog babysitter. He didn't dare to take hold of Spike's leash, but he also didn't dare not to. Kara was Jerry Adler's girlfriend and was not someone he could afford to offend. In the end, he decided to lead Spike out of the auditorium into the artificial lake to let him drink water. Thankfully, after listening to Kara's words, Spike didn't bite him.
Perhaps he likes me.
Mason wondered. Elsa, who was at the back of the auditorium with Grace, saw Mason holding Spike and shouted at him.
Darling, why are you holding the dog?
As Mason led Spike over to Elsa, other spectators screamed when they saw the huge animal approach. In the end, he persuaded Elsa to walk over to him instead. When he saw her frightened expression, he scratched Spike's head with his hand and said,
This is Auntie Elsa. You're not allowed to bite her.
Mason was enjoying looking after Spike, but Elsa was still too scared to get close. She looked warily at the dog and asked Mason again what he was doing with it. He told her about Kara, telling him to take the dog for a drink.
He wants water.
Hearing this, Elsa raised her eyebrows and looked at Mason with a sinister smile.
You wait here.
She walked to Lelaine's side and picked up the bottle of water that was beside her.
Lelaine, I need water for the dog. Can I use your bottle?
Lelaine glanced at Elsa weakly and nodded. The corner of Elsa's mouth raised into a smile. With the water bottle in her hand, she walked back to Mason.
Give him this.
Elsa threw the water to Mason.
This was given to Lelaine to drink just now.
Darling, this dog is Kara's. Aren't you playing with fire?
Mason had just seen how much pain Lelaine was in and was suspicious. Elsa wanted Spike to feel the same pain, but if they did something to hurt him, they would have Jerry to deal with. He didn't want that.
Ha! It is indeed playing with fire, but it's not us who'll get the blame, because it isn't our bottle of water.
Elsa's eyes looked sly.
Quick! Give it the water.
Seeing Spike licking from the bottle, Elsa smiled. She took the bottle with what was left of the water and quietly placed it next to Lelaine. Looking at Lelaine, who was leaning against Sophia with her eyes closed, Melissa sneered.
You sad loser.
She thought.
You have no idea that this is just the beginning of your troubles.
Mason took Spike back to Kara. 20 minutes later, while Kara was whispering with Jerry, Spike began to whimper. After another 5 minutes, Spike was lying on the ground, moaning and sticking out his tongue. No matter how much Kara tried to comfort her, he didn't recover.
Spike, what's wrong with you?
Kara touched the dog's head with a sad expression and looked at Mason angrily.
You, come over here. What did you give him to drink?
Nothing, just water.
Mason looked very scared.
Rubbish. He was fine before. Then you took him for a drink and he came back like this. Tell me what happened.
Kara said aggressively. Jerry was also glaring at Mason. Everyone around them was staring. There was so much noise coming from the small group that the director stopped the performance on stage and everyone looked over.
I just gave him a drink of water from a bottle. The bottle belonged to one of the singers backstage. Honestly, that's all I gave him.
Mason said, trembling.
Garbage. You say you only gave him water from a bottle belonging to someone backstage?
Jerry stood up and pushed Mason back a few steps.
Take me to get that bottle of water right now. If anything happens to my dog, I'll never forgive you.
Of course,
Mason said with a frightened smile. Then he walked in front of Jerry with his head lowered. Jerry and Kara walked after him, followed by other members of the audience. A small cart was used to push Spike behind them. When the performers backstage saw Jerry arriving, they were all surprised and stood up one by one. Christine and Sophia supported Lelaine, but just like the others, they didn't know what was happening.
you gave your water to my girlfriend?
Mason pointed at Elsa.
Mr. Dempsey's dog drank your water, and now he's really sick.
What?
Elsa screamed in a fake surprise. She quickly said to Jerry,
Mr. Adler, someone else gave me that bottle of water. It's not my fault.
Really?
Jerry's gaze turned colder.
Did you tell that person you were going to give the water to my dog?
Yes, I said that the water was for a dog, and you're the only person here with a dog, so she must have known that I meant Spike.
Elsa said.
Who is this person?
Jerry asked. Elsa's gaze shifted to Lelaine, and she pointed at her.
It's her fault. She gave me the water.